Hello everyone, Chris Guthrie here, host of SellerCast. In today's episode, I interview David, who started selling in July of 2015, but has already been doing six figures per month and has done so several months in a row, actually. And so we talk about how he was able to ramp up so quickly, and we also talk about some of his goals for scaling and growing this business even further. So let's get into this episode and hopefully enjoy what you have to hear. Hello everyone, Chris Guthrie here, host of SellerCast, and today I have David on the show. David, welcome.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Yeah, so we just met down in Vegas. We were at an event, and so it's nice to see you in person. And I know we'd seen each other at a previous event, but it's great to have you here. And I'm excited to talk about your journey and your business, your e-commerce business that you've been building along the way. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, so we know your name, but how long have you been selling, and why'd you get into this in the first place?
Okay, so a bit about me with my story. So I got into this about 7 or 8 months ago. I was actually looking through my stats yesterday, and I saw I took my first sale on the 1st of July, and I basically got into it just to...
So July 2015?
Yeah, July 2015.
Okay.
And I got into it basically, I just had I had a bit of a history in terms of my old workplaces where I had a few careers, maybe 2 or 3 I kind of jumped around, and then I ended up in more of a really corporate type of office, really long hours. Didn't really kind of hit a point where I thought, I got to do something different here.
Okay. And so that's what kind of got you into going with it then. So how did the start of the business go for you then? Did you pick, one product to start with, or how did you start with private labeling,
Sure.
or did you do retail arbitrage before that, or what were you doing?
So what I did basically is I just kind of had it as an idea to make money online. I don't really know why, and it's pretty funny. I just started searching online, basically through Google searches, YouTube, and so on and so forth. And I actually came across a few ideas first. It was like, I know apps were pretty big around 2012 and onwards, so people started making their own apps and reskinning them and that sort of stuff. I looked at that. I also looked at Kindle ebook publishing, and then I just kept searching. And funnily enough, I came across one of your YouTube videos. I think you'd made about $6,000 or so in sales in about 30 days or something. I thought, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Quite interesting.
So an older video, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the older ones. And then I thought, wow, this seems like it's kind of onto something. This guy seems pretty, chilled out, and looks like he's working from his basement, just pulling these numbers through. And I thought, what, I might start looking at it. And then I just kind of went down more of like a rabbit hole when you just keep going, and then you just, one thing leads you on to another. Then you kind of end up in, a few courses. And one of the major courses I jumped on, Amazing Selling Machine. I'm sure a lot of your viewers would have heard of it. So jumped on that course as part of my training. But I did a lot of other stuff on the side. I actually was self-taught before that course. And I just went through podcasts and just pretty much consumed a lot of information, and basically just did things as they made sense, and kind of just moved quite quickly, to be honest.
Yeah. There's so many people that have learned kind of from either specific courses. There's a lot of them out there. Some people dislike, all the different names out there, but so that's great. So you learn from a course, then you started also learning from other sources like podcasts, videos, blog posts, etc. Okay, so then what did you, so let's bring us up here to speed on where your business is at now. How much are you selling at this point in time? In February here of 2016.
Yeah, sure. So at the moment, I've just crossed over the 100,000 a month mark, and that's revenue. And that's, so as of this month, so in February. So,
okay.
So that's basically, to be honest, the most growth happened around November, December. I don't know whether or not it's because of the Christmas period. I think it's more of a case of just the velocity in my product. It may have kind of overtaken and displaced one of the competitors, which is what I kind of believe has happened. And I've been tracking everyone's sales. I watch it pretty closely. So for some reason or another, it's kind of switched over. And there's other people that have entered the market, but I think with this business, your product, it's either on or off. That's what I found. And I find that it hits a critical mass at some point, and then it just kind of takes off from there.
Yeah, that's a consistent theme that I see when I talk to people, and just from talking to a lot of sellers. So then 100,000 per month, and what are your margins roughly then?
I've had a look at it. Yeah, so I've got 4 products at the moment, 2 major ones that are selling. I just had a look at them the other day. So the first product, the margin's about 60%, and the second product, the margin's closer to about 50. It's probably about 48, 47, and that's before advertising cost. So that's
Mhm.
purely the net margin. That's not including the advertising cost. And it's been selling quite well. I've turned all ads off for a few weeks, to be honest, just to kind of catch up with inventory. Otherwise, I'd pretty much push it to run out. There's no point to run ads when you're kind of you're forecasting forward and you're seeing you may potentially be out of stock.
That's fantastic. And so, I mean, less than a year selling, and you already passed six figures in a month, and have done it now a few months in a row, at least, right?
Yeah,
Since November,
it's
December, and
crazy.
then
It's I was watching
yeah,
these. I used to watch these podcasts myself, and I used to see these people doing these crazy numbers. I was thinking, how the hell are they doing this? I'm gonna work at it for a year or two, and just keep at it. And maybe I'll get there. But I just can't believe what's actually happened.
that's fantastic. And so, we don't have to talk about, and this is the typical thing when we have guests come on, they don't talk about what they're selling, of course.
Yeah,
But can you share, and if you don't have to, if you don't want to,
yeah,
but can you share the specific niche that you're in, or
yeah.
a
So
category on
my
Amazon,
products,
perhaps?
my products in health and personal care.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I was thinking about this the other day. I think the main thing with the growth now, people look at it and see a large number and think, yeah, I'd be happy with that, and I'm happy to kind of stop there, and I'll take 100 grand every month, all day, every day. But the thing is, I think it's more of a case of the initial the margin in the product, and I look at it. I look at a figure of the ratio. So money in, money out. So if you put if you put $1,000 of inventory in, how much are you going to get back out? Net of everything. So net of all your Amazon seller fees, everything. So, and my ratio was about 5 or 6. So I'd put $1 in, and I'd literally get $5 back. And I thought that was insane. And that's basically the thing that allowed me to restock really quickly. And when I could restock really quickly, I all of a sudden, could come to the party with a much bigger, with a much bigger gun, if you will, and you just kind of just blast out a lot more, get more reviews, more ranking, and it just kind of helps you push up. And I think that's one of the key things.
I like
How I started.
I like that philosophy, the dollar in, dollar out. I actually talked to another person recently, and they'd said that they were really into real estate, and they actually sold all of their real estate investment properties specifically so they could just hit Amazon harder and bring into it, at a much higher level. And so that's great. So then and just for context too, how much did you start with when you did your first initial order? I know some people that are starting, they're like, I can only afford, $1,000, or maybe they can't even afford that. And so what did you do with your first order to kind of get you, and then, keep recycling that money so you can keep getting it further and further
Yeah.
with more inventory, new products, et cetera?
So I started off with 1,000 units. And the key is if you can get a product that you can land in the States for $2 to $4, that's going to be ideal. I mean, coming up with $3,000-$4,000. I know it's hard for people. I know people have different situations, but it's not that much of it's not like you're mortgaging your house to buy a traditional brick and mortar business. It's really not that much. It's just a few grand. If you have to save it for a few months, so be it. But yeah, you want to come to the party with at least 1,000 units, because that initial, I mean, you're pretty much a nobody on Amazon. You need reviews, you need ranking, you need a lot of inventory to play with. And then also you need inventory to sell through whilst you have your reorder going. And then it's a bit of a kind of a cash flow balancing act.
Yep. Let's talk about a little bit of that as well. But, I was going back to one of the earlier points you mentioned. We were talking about your margins. You mentioned, one product was 60%, the other one was like 48, 50%.
Yep.
And that was before advertising costs.
That's
so when you specifically separated that out, that made me think that, okay, you're probably doing a lot with advertising, or you've tried a lot of different things or it's just a matter of you aren't tracking that metric. But what are you doing on the advertising side? Is it just Amazon PPC, or are you doing other stuff as well?
Yeah, just purely Amazon PPC. And I've done a lot of experimenting in terms of different types of campaigns, and just the different types of advertising settings that Amazon makes available. And I've got it down to a point where my first product I could advertise when I was really pushing it. I think I was paying for all the units that I was selling in the daily ad spend. It worked out to be about $2 or so per unit. And then on this second product, it turned out, because it was a high value product, it would be about $3 to $4 per unit. So you kind of spread the advertising cost over your daily sales.
Okay, so you were saying about $2 for your first product, and then $3 to $4 in advertising costs to get a sale. So your ACOS then. I guess it depends on what your sale price was, but can you give that as a percentage?
No.
In terms of
what I meant is that the ACOS, I normally have ACOSs around from as low as 15 up to about 50 or 60% across advertising campaigns. So effectively,
Oh, okay.
my worst case, my campaigns kind of pay for themselves. But I spread the advertising cost across the daily sales, and I kind of justify it in that way.
Nice, nice. Okay, that makes
And
sense.
then when I look at my profit margin, I can say, okay, I'm moving so many units a week. I've spent this much in advertising a week. It's effectively $2 per unit. So then I can quickly work out what my margins are.
Yeah. And of the things that seem to be changing on Amazon, it continues to seem that the pay-per-click platform is getting a lot of different changes along the way. Uh, and you mentioned that you tried a bunch of different campaign settings and testings. What have you found along the way that's worked best for you in terms of the products you've been selling? I mean, are you doing auto campaigns, manual, both?
Yeah, well,
Maybe you can share a bit about that.
I'm fairly impatient. I don't like auto campaigns because they take too long, and it really
Yeah.
depends on whether or not Amazon believes you have relevancy for a keyword. And the way you can find out if you have relevancy for a keyword is, for instance, there's a program out there, Keyword Inspector. You can do a reverse async scrape of a competitor and just basically take all the main keywords that they're apparently selling for, throw it in a campaign, put some money behind it, and see what happens. And then the ones that you show up for, you'll see all the impressions. So you think, okay, Amazon believes I'm relevant for this, and then you have a look at whether or not you're taking sales, and you pause the losers and you kind of scale up the winners. Really.
Awesome. Okay. So let's shift gears a bit here. So then, what have you been focused on lately? You've got 4 products. You've passed the 100K barrier in November, which is already kind of insane if you considering you started in July, and then have been able to push that even through here in the early part of 2016. What are you focused on these days in your business?
At the moment, it's kind of like with any business, and they talk about it a lot in the seminars and all the material out there. You hit an income ceiling. I think at around probably 2 or 3 products. Realistically, if you're doing all the work that you could conceivably do for a product, you hit an income ceiling, and you become the bottleneck. So the main thing for me is to get help. So I need. So I've kind of planned out what I need, the type of person that's going to look like, the kind of skills that they need to have, and basically planning out a structure for other people to come in and assist me. Really, so that's going to be the big enabler. Because the thing is, firstly, it's the human capital. You need people to help you out. So you need to do more. You basically need to effectively clone yourself in a way. So you're a certain person at PPC, right? And you've got all your knowledge. You need to systematize that and offload that to someone else that can report to you and you can supervise, because then it frees you up to do other things which are much higher value.
Definitely. I think a lot of times business owners are too busy trying to do everything, or worst case, they're trying to do some outsourcing, but they still do the tasks that, are the $10 an hour tasks instead of the $1,000 an hour tasks that they should be focused on.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the main thing. If I can get a few people in place, I've got, for personally my business, and I think any business, well, it starts out, you hire the first person and they kind of assist you, and then it kind of branches out from there. But I can see 3 roles, maybe 4 roles more or less. I guess one person would be, operations and customer service, and then monitor that side of the business. You'd have another person for sourcing products and dealing with suppliers and doing shipping and reorders. And a third one would probably be a marketing type of assistant, someone who would do a lot of your marketing collateral, like all your YouTube, press releases, anything you really want to do. And then I'd say probably a 4th person ideally would be a project manager that would basically sit in your role, and you could more or less have it effectively automated.
That's great. And so which one do you think you're going to hire first? Probably the operations side with customer support. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's the first one. You look at as you said, the lowest hour dollarly tasks first, and then you kind of move up the value chain there.
Yeah, so I had Isaac on a previous episode 25, for people that want to listen to that, at sellercast.com/25. And they have a team of people in the Philippines. They set up an office to do that. And he actually said not to do that. And he just talked about some of the challenges in dealing with that. I think the laws and everything else in terms of getting it done. But are you going to be looking locally, or are you going to be looking at a VA type person in the Philippines or some other location?
Yeah, I guess it's like with anything. I may just experiment and see what works. Initially, I may try for a VA in the Philippines, although I'm not sure how that's going to work. I guess the second option would be here to perhaps source someone locally, someone that ideally probably wants to work from home, and it just avoids the whole, and you put them on a contract that avoids the whole, all the other, I guess, costs increases that go up with having a physical presence somewhere, and then you got to hire people, retain them, the whole office infrastructure and everything. So, and the whole idea of the business is to keep it lean, I guess, whilst you grow. So maybe, I'll try with the Philippines on a contractual basis, and then after that, maybe look at someone locally. It really just depends what can be done. But I guess what I envision is perhaps you could have a very small team locally, wherever you are, whether that be in the States, Canada or Australia, and then that's effectively your project management staff, and they may do some of the grunt work, but then a lot of the, I guess, the menial tasks and the really easy and straightforward stuff, they could outsource and manage VAs, elsewhere around the world to kind of, you can retain control and you've got a bit of direction, but you also keep your costs down. So you don't need an office of like 10 people.
I'm a big fan of the replacement self. Like, hiring your replacement basically, and your first hire being someone that starts to take over your tasks. Yep. And then eventually they can potentially hire other people for your team. That's what's worked well for me in the past in other businesses. And again, since we're having this casual conversation here and I'm giving you unsolicited advice, I would say that you can try for the VA in the Philippines. But if based on the 4 people that you're trying to hire, that I think you'll have really good success if you find someone locally. And often too, if you find the right person, then maybe you can even do some sort of a sweetener in there with some equity or maybe some sort of profit sharing, depending on how you want to compensate. But that's what I'd suggest.
Yeah,
with what you're shooting for.
Yeah, it's a first thing for myself. It's my first business, so it's going to be a first hire as well. But again, you just go down the whole. You source, you research, and then you test pretty quickly, and you don't have to be too caught up on any one kind of direction. But the other thing I just thought of, outsourcing is so huge because think about it, in about 7-8 months, it's gone from 0 to 100K a month. If you just had a team to assist you, you can definitely do that. Not that it's always going to be replicated, but that just shows you that. And everyone's starting this business themselves. If they, if you get to $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, that's a big achievement. And if it's just that's come out of an idea that you had in your head, so that's such a high value asset and it's such a high value task. So you want to be able to do that over and over again. So the more people you can get to assist you, although it's going to cost you some money, the much bigger picture is that that's such a high value task that you're doing, and that it's really only yourself that you can really do, and you can rely on yourself to do. You can't really kind of outsource that.
Yeah. I love that you're going to be doing that. The number one mistake I know I've made across previous businesses, I made this mistake twice in 2 different businesses, was just waiting too long to hire. Yeah. And then we finally did. It's, you hit a new normal once you bring that person on and get them up to speed. So that's great. So then you've talked about your planning for your team and what you're going to do, and you've got this success so quickly. What are you shooting to hit by the end of this year if you're so aggressively ramping this up? And are you taking any money out for yourself right now, or are you just kind of a small salary?
No. So basically, so firstly, my goal for the end of the year, I've just set, I think I can and I want to hit 300K in December. I want to have enough stock, enough product in there to hit that mark. And then I want to get to $1 million a month the year after that. It's a pretty big goal for myself, but you know what? I might as well go for it. And I believe if I've got the team in place, and the other thing is, I look at everything as like a cash flow stream. So as the cash starts to accumulate, all of a sudden you can start purchasing other product lines. And conceivably, if you've got the same approach, each 10, 20 grand can be put towards another product that will never suck money out, if you will, and it will just kind of spit out cash after a few months of operation. And so this year going forward, I think I can probably do that by December or so. So that's like a main goal of mine.
That's great. I've met a lot of people that are in varying ranges, and a lot of times is what separates people that are doing a few thousand a month and maybe that are just getting started, which is fine. But people that have been doing it longer and are still selling in a lower range, it just comes down to that willingness to keep pushing it and keep trying to see what's the limit, because there really isn't any cap. That's a beautiful thing about building your own business, is that there's no cap on the money that you can make. If you want to make $1 million a month in revenue, then you can. And there's not really anything that says you can't do that. So that's fantastic. Yeah. So then, okay, let's talk about.
And sorry, just that one other thing. So about pulling money out and paying myself. So what I've done is I've paid myself back all my initial investment. So I don't have any. I guess I've got my time and investment tied up into it. But in terms of money, I've pulled all of that money out, and it's not. I mean, in Australia, it's not tax deductible. It's effectively a loan to the company that you pull back out. I'm sure it's probably the same in the States. So it's no actual profit you pull out of the business, and the rest will be retained in the business. I pay myself a salary, so I'm the first employee of my company, and I just pay myself a salary now. And there's no real intention to pull any more money out. Really, it's just more of a fun and an interesting experience. And the idea is to build up assets. This is the first physical products on Amazon, and maybe physical products on other channels afterwards. I may expand if I've got time. If I automate this, I may try digital products, other type of subscription stuff. So I'm just kind of building a foundation to just to leverage it and jump off into maybe other business models. So I just want to. My focus is just to generate cash flow streams. So I want assets out there that are constantly pulling in cash. I don't want to be too leveraged. I don't want to do like a big market disruptor type of play. I just want to have just simple businesses that just spit out cash, fund my lifestyle and allow me to jump into other businesses, because the way I view it is we're all online now. Amazon's the big thing at the moment, but we don't know what's going to open up in a year or two, and the people who are well positioned are really gonna kill it. Like the ones who've really killed it on Amazon are all the guys and girls who are really into big digital marketing and online marketing. So the ones that were doing direct response type of stuff and playing in those circles. When ASM came out in like 1 or 2, they were the first ones on it, and they're the ones that were, they're the ones that are selling now $1 million a month, 500, 600,000 a month, because they were in the right place, and they're just waiting for the right time to open up, and that's kind of how I view it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think that's true. When things are always going to change in a marketplace, and so being prepared for that as you move forward is key. And yeah, I'm sure that there's no reason, selling on Amazon won't go away, but certainly the rules and how things develop along the way can certainly change, though. But let's talk about some of the mistakes. I mean, if you hit 100K per month in less than a year, then I got to assume you made no mistakes, but maybe you're wrong.
No, that's right. Yeah, no, we all make mistakes. I guess one of my products is not doing too well that I launched. I see that as not really a failure, but more of something that could have been done a bit better. And it's more of a case of I jumped into another market. And to be honest, it's really hard to put a finger on it. And I think you can overanalyze things, but I think the product was just, for whatever reason, was not what people wanted in that market. So I launched a product into a market, and it was a slight, variation of what was normally purchased. So it wasn't totally different. It was just made of a different material, different fabric. And look, it appears that people don't really care about that kind of difference. And then the other thing is it's quite price sensitive. So my product, I normally go on the premium end. And for whatever reason, this market's a lot more price sensitive. And I guess you can only find that out through actually jumping in and then seeing what happens, really. And I guess, maybe the other mistake is perhaps, waiting around a bit longer to pull the trigger on a second product. So I've just launched my second product, and it's taken me 6-7 months to do so. I think I could have done that a bit quicker, but again, I mean, when you've got other constraints where I was paying people back that I had borrowed money off to jump in the business, I thought that was probably the main priority first, to get the money out and ensure that everyone was safe first before I grow and I before I proved the concept. So I guess I probably could have brought this cash flow a bit sooner by throwing a second product in earlier, but again, kind of hard to say.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that, and certainly making sure you can pay off the people that helped, either loan you money or give you money to get going is good as well. So
yeah, I mean, the last thing, they're not. I mean, they're really nice to kind of lend me money, no strings, no equity play, nothing. So it was a big priority for me to return the money to them.
Yeah, that probably puts it a little bit even higher priority when you've got a sweet situation like that. Let me know if you want to introduce me to them later. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so let's talk about some of the scale too. I mean, I know we talked a little bit about how you're able to get up and going, but I'm really trying to unpack what you're able to do to get sales so quickly. I mean, does it really come down to, and it sounds simple just saying this, but does this come down to just that you picked a great product and you marketed it well on Amazon, or there's something else that you really did that kind of helps separate you from the rest of the people that, they get started and maybe it takes them longer to get going, or they just kind of struggle along the way?
Yeah, I think there's probably a few things. Firstly, I had a look at the market in which I wanted to jump into, and I saw my main competitor was selling quite well. and they were more or less out on their own. There was no real good direct alternative competitor. And the funny thing is they were priced in a much higher region. So I knew that market wasn't so price sensitive and was really important what they got. So they wanted a good unit at a good price, and they pretty much really neglected all the rest. And I basically went out and sampled dozens. I probably hit up about 30, 40 suppliers, sampled about 10 or 11 different products, and then found a product, funnily, indirectly by looking for another related product. So I was basically looking for, say, product A initially. Kept searching, couldn't really find a good unit that worked well at a good price. And then they suggested, "Oh, we've got this other product." And then I checked that market on Amazon and looked at it was even. It seemed a lot better than the first, in the sense that it was a lot less competitive. And the main seller was really just basically cleaning up, as I say. I mean, there was really no competition. So I found a product that was better than his. So I believe it was better, and I tested them all. So I knew it. I said, "Look, I've got a great product here. I've got a better product. I know these people are buying this product at this price. I just need to get in front of them and show them." And I just did that. And I knew if I pushed enough product and launched enough out there and got enough reviews and enough sales velocity and enough kind of enough activity around this product, it would go. And it took a few months, but it finally tipped over. And I was quite aggressive with advertising. I basically rolled all my profits back into more inventory and kept going. So the first part is I just picked a product that was selling quite well, reasonable competition. I put the better product in the market, and then secondly, my profits I had a good margin, so it allowed me to purchase more stock and throw it in there.
Awesome. When I hear health and personal care, when you mentioned your category earlier, I always think, U.S. suppliers, because I think of supplements, et cetera.
Yep.
Are you sourcing through the U.S. suppliers, or are you using another source like Alibaba or one of these other China-based sourcing places?
Yeah, I'm sourcing off a supply that I found on Alibaba in China.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, and so it's cool that they were able to suggest, "Hey, here's another product we have," and then you went with that one.
Yeah, some of the suppliers are really good, and you'll find that. And the funny thing is, as I've developed a relationship with them, I've always been super nice and courteous to them, and I've always made sure that they don't feel that there's that big authority gradient, in the sense that I'm the big boss and they're they're kind of my servant. We're more like partners, and with partners you can throw ideas around, they can ask questions to each other. So that's the kind of relationship that I've got. And funnily enough, they've kind of saved me a few times, in the sense of, like, there's some regulatory requirements and packaging requirements, and it's good. The way you deal with suppliers, the way I've dealt with it, I love them, because without them, I've got no product to sell, and I'm back out on the street. So so I rely heavily on them, and the main thing is to just look after them, and they'll look after you.
That's great. I mean, it's a continual theme, especially with some of the most recent episodes we've been doing here, is people sharing their stories of building a really good relationship with their supplier. And then that's always really seemed to help them. I mean, have you used that? I mean, with this great relationship with your supplier, are you doing anything to inspect your products, or have they been good, and so now you're not really doing that, or what are you doing when it comes to the shipment process for that?
Yeah, so every shipment, because obviously physically don't see the product, I have every shipment inspected, and you can get it quite cheap. I use a company, Inspect Goods, and they quite, I think, about $100 US or so. They'll go down there and physically check out your product, take photos of it, and just kind of work with your supplier. So you just put those two in contact, and the local inspection agency will speak to your supplier, and you just tell them to figure it out, and then they'll organise an inspection. So you don't have to be the middleman constantly playing them all off against each other. They just sort it out themselves. That's how I kind of do it.
That's great. So you do your maybe your 30% up front, and then you release to 70% once your inspection service has gone down and finished the work.
Sometimes cool. I know that. Look, say on the third or fourth inspection, I just tell them, look, I'll pay in advance, just send it out, because I was kind of almost running out of stock a few times. Sometimes I would pay early, other times, and this is, so it's kind of back and forth. So sometimes I'd pay early before the inspection. Obviously, if there's a major defect, okay, my money's gone out, but there's going to be consequences, in the sense either they fix it, they reimburse me, or I don't do business with them. And secondly, they'll sometimes tell me, look, if you've just told us you're going to place this order, I'll place the order right now before the money comes through, because it takes a few days for the money to come through. So they'll actually, if the suppliers trust you, they'll actually go out and order the raw materials themselves before your money actually comes through in the form of a deposit. So it helps you shorten that lead time.
That's great. That's great. Okay, and so then, I'm looking at the time here. We're getting close to wrapping up, but I want to think about, I think that some of the takeaways that people will think about when they've listened to this is that, you're aggressively reinvesting your profits to continue to scale the business. You paid back the people that helped give you some money to get going. You quickly start launching new products, and now you're thinking about, even though you're at 100K a month, which is, I'm sure a lot of people listening, hey, that'd be fantastic to hit that. But they're saying, okay, you're already saying, well, this is just a start. What can we do next? 300K a month by the end of December, and then $1 million a month in the year after that. And so I think that's inspiring to be able to try and push for that much and try and grow that quickly. What are some other main things that you would say that have differentiated your success against other people? I know that's something I've talked about briefly before, but anything else is like closing type comments to get to people, either something that you found along the way that's been a great tactic or philosophy or anything else like that you think you can close on?
Look, I would say probably, look, you're going to encounter a few roadblocks, a few failures. I mean, not everything's going to go your way. The main thing is to just be focused and be passionate about it and quite aggressive. Just make it a focus. I mean, if this is something that you want to do and you're serious about, I mean, the market's there for the taking. If you want to succeed in the marketplace, just look at things from a customer's point of view and just look at what they want and give it to them, and give them a good story through your photos. Hit on points that they want in your bullet points. Source a genuinely good product. Don't sell people crappy products that they're just going to end returning you. So do the work for the customer in the front end. So when you're sourcing through all these suppliers, take your time to go through and find the best product you can, and then they're going to reward you by buying it and commenting well. And then just overall, I'll just say to people you just focus on your health, your relationships, and your money equation. They're the three main areas in our lives, and just take responsibility for it and fix whatever you need to get fixed. Don't wait to be put on. Don't wait for some tactic, some shortcut, some special way to do it. You just have to work at it. And the funny thing is about the internet now is all the resources are out there more or less for free. It's all out there. It's just a case of how bad do you want it, and you just have to go out and get it. And it's pretty much all there for the taking.
I love it. I want you to come back when you have your team built and you can talk about that process and what you've done to help get them going. And so I will look forward to having you back on when you're there.
Yeah, no,
thanks again, David.
I'd love to. Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right, have a great rest of your day.
All right, thanks, Chris. You too.
All right, that was the episode with David. Hopefully you enjoyed what he had to share in that episode, talking about getting ramped up so quickly to 6 figures per month in sales, and along with his ambitious plans to grow his business even further. Now, if you also would like to be on the show, if you have an interesting story or you just want to talk about what you've been doing to grow your business, then you can also contact us, salesbacker.com/contact. We'll take you to a page where you can send an email, and we'll make sure the email gets to me, and we can see if we can have you on the show to talk about your business and share with the audience so they can learn from your experiences as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.